Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Truth Podcast. My guest today is Barbara Carr, and she is a kingdom-driven business leader, national influencer, and professional speaker. Barbara is the founder and CEO of Fuse Empire, which owns a multitude of companies that focus on growing businesses and growing people. Barbara is a mother of three and wife of one. She has been working with executives and business owners for over a decade to help them gain exposure, increase their profits, and systemize their processes. By doing this, she has helped her busy clients become internationally known, reaching multi-million-dollar income levels, and give their workers and customers a better and more organized experience. Welcome to the show, Barbara.
Hi, thank you, Jim.
You are so welcome. You do so much.
You're
a busy girl.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand busy. I really do. But I appreciate you coming on today. And the first question I have for you, like many others, is that what lit the fire for you to want to become an entrepreneur in the first place?
You know, that was kind of a progressive fire that was lit with me. It started when I was a young child. Both of my parents worked traditional jobs and they were mostly gone. We were like raised by babysitters. And I remember as a young child thinking, I don't ever want to miss my kids' performances. Like, I don't ever want to have them not have somebody show up, because that's how I always felt. Like for Special Persons Day at school, everybody had their parents there, and I felt like we were the only kids that didn't have our parents there. And I knew my mom was working and my dad was out working, and they were doing the best they could. But as a child, it felt really sad to not have that. And so I very young, I started wanting to be an entrepreneur then. And I didn't know that's what I wanted. I just knew I didn't want to have to always be at work. I wanted to be able to be there for my kids. And as time went on, I became a mother and got very excited about being able to be there for them. But then I found myself as a single mother, and then I had to work 2 or 3 jobs at a time to be able to provide for them. And I just kept pushing forward on it. And I still was in business school at this time. I was in college and going for business. And I learned about what was called a virtual assistant in one of my business classes. And at that point, I remember thinking, oh, this would be fun. That would allow me to work from home. And we did a project during one of my classes, and it was for the whole semester. We were supposed to build this pretend business, and it was worth like almost our whole grade for that semester. And each week we were supposed to work on another part of the business. And by the end of the semester, I had created an entire virtual assistant business. I had so much fun creating it. I was so excited. Thought, man, this would be the greatest thing ever. If I could do this, I'd be so happy. But of course, at that time, I was working to provide ends meet for my family. And I just didn't really think much of it after that. And back in 2009, I ended up with a high-risk pregnancy. The doctor pretty much told me, Barbara, for 10 months, you're going to be on bed rest. It's for the protection of you and for the protection of this child. When I first heard that news, I was working a full-time job as a receptionist, and my family needed my income, so I felt devastated. I thought it was the worst thing in the world that could ever happen, and I didn't know what I was going to do. If I couldn't work, and here we have another baby on the way, our 3rd child, and I'm not able to work, and now we're going to have less money and more expenses, and I just felt really defeated. And then I decided to go ahead and build that business that I had built as a project in school. I thought, well, what if I made that a real thing? I could do that from home. So I decided to go full force with it. And I created my virtual assistant business and made it a real business. Got clients right away from the job that I was working as a receptionist. I was able to bring people from there to let me do work at home for them. And I did so well during that time on bed rest. And by the time that I had my child, she's now 9 years old and healthy, and everything worked out great. But by the time I had her, I realized I was making more money from home. I was enjoying it more. My two older kids at the time, they were about 5 and 7. They loved having mommy home all day, every day. And I just decided never to go back to a job. So since then, I've been an entrepreneur and I've been loving it. And I've been evolving over the years. Here, a decade later, I've become so much more than just a virtual assistant. I now own multiple businesses, and the virtual assistant is one of them. But yeah, that's how I kind of got the fire lit to become an entrepreneur.
It sounds really, really good. Um, in your journey and from going through all of that, I know that some of that is kind of like the obstacles and things like that we faced. It was a little bit different for you, but were there anything else, like anything internally or externally, that held you back from achieving the level of success that you wanted to?
Jim, that's a fantastic question. Actually, there's so many things, and I'll just give you some of the big ones that were there. Early on in this journey, I ended up having postpartum depression. So about a year into my journey, after my baby was born, I experienced postpartum depression for the first time. Remember, this is my third child. My first two kids I didn't go through this with. So I didn't know what was happening. I had had this beautiful baby. I had this life that I'd always wanted, and I was so happy. But for some reason, I couldn't find motivation to get out of bed in the morning, and I didn't really get excited about the work I was doing during my pregnancy, and I didn't understand what was happening. And so for many months, this went on for me just thinking something was wrong with me. And I didn't know what to do or who to turn to. I didn't even know what I was going through. Once I finally figured out what was happening, it happened through talking with one of my pediatricians that I was taking the kid to, and he had mentioned that I could be going through postpartum depression. So I went home and I did some research on it, and I immediately thought, there's no way I'm going to be labeled as this. And I started feeling very inadequate and insecure, and I didn't want people to know that there was something going on with me that wasn't great. And so I denied it, and for a while, which made it worse. I basically said, no, that's not me. At some point, I had to finally decide that if I'm ever going to get better, I need to take the diagnosis and I need to find out how to get better. And I refused to take any kind of medication for it. So it was a longer journey than it needed to be. But it did end up ending. It was about a 3-year journey that I dealt with postpartum depression. And I was only able to do business to a small extent during that time. And luckily, my clients had a good relationship with me. So once I was better, they were there for me and ready for me to work for them again. But I lost a lot of business during that time. I lost a lot of confidence during that time. I had to rebuild back a lot after that. And then shortly after that, after I finally caught momentum again, I started making more money than I had ever made before, which is a great thing. But that's when I realized that I had an unhealthy relationship with money. I grew up in poverty. I didn't know how to manage money. And so I found myself in a spot that was really scary. I was making more money than I ever had, but I also had less money to spend than I ever had at the end of the day, like profit wise, like it wasn't making sense. It was like, why am I not profiting? Why is this business not working if I'm making all this money? And I learned it was because I had a bad mindset towards money, and I also didn't know how to manage money. So then I had to go through those training opportunities to be able to be better at that. And then I started trying to bring on a team. And the people that I was bringing on were fantastic. The problem with that was that I did not know how to be a leader. And so my team failed. So again, I had to go back to the drawing board, and I always had to look within and say, what could I do to make this better? So I went to leadership training and became a better leader. My team now is fantastic because their leader knows how to lead. And of course, they're awesome people too. But and then of course I went through a divorce, which caused some family personal issues. And one thing I learned from that is that when your personal life is a mess, your business becomes a mess. And so I've had a lot of trial and error and mistakes and setbacks and all of that. But those are probably the biggest ones for me.
Wow. You've been through a lot.
Yeah.
You've been through a
Yeah.
lot. And it shows that entrepreneurial people are human, and we go through
Mhm.
things, and things happen, and we're not overnight successes like most people think we are. And I think a
Right.
lot of people have misconceptions about what that is. And when they're like, wow, these people, man, they're just making all this money, and it seems like it's so easy. And I don't want to discourage people. That's not what this is about. But I want you to see that it's not an easy road. Sometimes she had to get more education and more education and more education on top of a college education. She had to get
Right.
life education. So I wanted you to see that so that you understood, what it takes sometimes to be who you see. You know what I mean? It's a little
For
bit
sure.
of a different situation. So okay, so we go from, the VA thing that you had created, and did we go somewhere next, or are we still doing that?
Yeah. So I started off as a virtual assistant, and my clients started asking me to do things that most virtual assistants don't really do. But I was like, sure, I'll do it because I love learning and I love doing new things. And of course, I love helping people. So for instance, they would say, could you build me a website, or could you design me a logo? And at first I was like, well, I don't really know how other than that I did my own. And if you're okay with me, using you as a guinea pig, then sure, I'd be happy to. All my clients, again, they had a great relationship with me, so they were always okay being my guinea pig. And from there, I realized, wow, I really enjoy building websites. Making logos is really fun. And so I started teaching myself by experience first, but then again, I went right back to the drawing board of what kind of education can I get with this? I learned a lot through Google and YouTube. So much. I educated myself through those platforms. And so once I realized I liked doing it, I started taking trainings on how to use Photoshop, for instance. My first logos were created, I think, in Paint or something like that. But then I went and I learned how to use Photoshop to be a serious professional designer. And then I started learning tricks on Photoshop and just different strategies. And same thing with website. When I first learned how to build a website over a decade ago, I learned HTML coding. And
Wow.
nowadays, you don't need that anymore. WordPress and all these other things have made it so much easier to just plug and drag and drop and stuff like that. And I like to call it plug and play. But it's made it so much easier. But the great thing is I still remember a lot of that knowledge. So when like my WordPress theme doesn't work the way I need it to, I can usually just go into the code and change it how needed. Now, some themes don't allow me to always do that, but but for the most part I can. And so from there I went to then clients would start asking me for other things like, well, can you teach me how to do that? Can you teach me how to do what you did? Teach me how to send an email through MailChimp and different things like that. So I started teaching them all one-on-one because a lot of people were asking for this. And uh, then they were friends with each other, a lot of them, because I got most of my business through referrals. So client one would talk to client two and they'd be like, oh, she's teaching you that too? Well, she's also teaching that to me. So then they'd come to me and say, Barbara, why are you spending all this time teaching us separately? Get us all in the same room and teach us together. And I was like, oh, that's a great idea. So I started groups of like 4 to 6 people that knew each other, to them just inviting all kinds of other people. And then it became public knowledge. And before I knew it, I had like 20 people in a class. And that's when I evolved into the business trainer. And so at this point, then I was a virtual assistant. I started doing marketing and media stuff. Then I became a business trainer. Then they started calling me into corporate places to train like whole teams of people. And that's when I opened my corporate training business. And then I started publishing books for clients. I'm up to, I think now I've published 12 books for clients.
Wow.
And I'm working on my first one, well, my second one finally, because I co-authored with another person a couple years ago. But I'm working on my first one of my own, which I'm super excited about. And that one's on time management, which is my favorite topic. As you can see earlier, you mentioned I do so much, but I do so much in a way that I don't get stressed out either. And people are usually impressed with that. They're like, how do you do all this without losing your mind? And so in my time management book, I teach a lot of my strategies. And then from there, I started working with clients who were paying a lot of money for promotional products. And I couldn't understand why they were paying so much for it, because I was like, well, I bought 1,000 ink pens too, and I only paid this much for it. And my clients paid like 3 or 4 times as much as I did. And sometimes, most of the time, their product wasn't even as good. And so I was like, why would you pay that much? And like business cards, stuff like that, I just didn't know why they were paying so much. So I started sharing my resources and offering where I was getting mine from. And then that's how my promotional products company evolved. So Fuse Empire is the parent company that owns the 6 companies that I just walked through, which was the Fuse Virtual Assistant Services, Fuse Business Training, Fuse Marketing and Media, Fuse Corporate Training, Fuse Book Publishing, and Fuse Promotional Products. And so that has evolved over about the past 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
You don't even look old enough to have 14 years of experience.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. My oldest child just turned 17 this month.
Wow.
I
Holy
was a
cow.
teen mom. I was a teen mom.
You could not tell that. But yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
amazing, because I think that, just, you know what, it's happening to me too. I am telling you, I just started doing websites and logos and all this stuff. And I mean, this one lady's like, oh, this is so great. And, and sent me a picture of a phone text conversation between her and another friend of hers. I'm like, oh, this is just your heart. This is amazing. And that was great. And I did it in like an hour, it was really easy. So I have 2 websites I was working on, and it just came to me. It's not like I was looking for it. You know what I mean? So it's like it's starting to happen for me that the exact same way as that you were talking about right now.
Good. That's awesome.
Go ahead.
And so,
go ahead.
Jim, I wanted to share with you too, after all that had become a thing, I had evolved over all that time. And then last year, at the beginning of 2019, which was 10 years into my businesses full-time, right? I started part-time for a while, but full-time, it's been about 10 years now. And then my biggest setback hit me. And I saved that one for after I shared that, so that this one made more sense. And so in 2019, early in the first quarter, I closed the door to all of my businesses because one of my teenagers was struggling a lot and attempted suicide. Luckily, it was a failed attempt. She's still here. She's doing fantastic now. But at that time, it was an eye-opener. And I realized that as much as I love business could not be more important than my family, especially at a time when my kids needed me more than ever now, right? They're teenagers in high school, already struggling with the struggles of high school. And then they're just recently went through a divorce of their parents. And so it was just really rough for them. And so I went almost a whole year without any business. I closed the doors completely. And in that time of helping my children find their way, I was able to find a way that I wasn't aware of. I did not grow up in church or anything like that, but during this time, Jesus found me and he found our family, and he was able to turn all of our lives around in a way that I never could have even imagined that life could be the way it is now. In fact, my current husband, I got remarried just recently, but I shared with him that like when I dreamt of my perfect life, like it wasn't even as good as the life I have right now. Like I just didn't even realize that the life I have now was even possible, that it even could exist. And so I'm living more than what I ever could have dreamt of. I have the most amazing husband. My kids are in a safe place. They're in a healthy place. They found the Lord. They're good people, and I've got now all these successful businesses. I just recently started my businesses back up in September of 2019 after taking almost a year off. And when I came back into I call it getting back in the game, people were so excited. I had I had what I call my fan club, who supported me during this journey. And as soon as I was ready to be there again, they were ready to have me. And so business is better than it's ever been now. Even right now we're going through coronavirus, right? COVID-19. And most businesses have had to close their doors because of this. My business has actually gotten busier, more profitable, and I'm also giving back as well. So while I'm still making a profit, I also am giving a lot of free tips out there right now to help people stay visible. But what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that all of the times when I thought it was the worst thing that could have happened to me actually turned out to be my blessing in disguise, right? So my bed rest helped me to become the stay-at-home mom I always wanted to be. My daughter's failed suicide attempt helped me open my eyes to what's truly important in this world. And so now I run my life and business and everything under the philosophy of faith, family, career, right? So, and my business, of course, the name is Fuse, which also starts with an F. So I always say my top 3 things are faith, family, Fuse. So it's just like when things seem like they're at their worst, that's usually just an opportunity to open up something greater.
I totally agree with that too, because people know this but I had kidney failure and almost died a few times. So it's like coming back from all that was scary stuff. And now I'm doing this and left my job in January, and that was scary. And now that things are just keep coming in and keep coming in. And it's like, wow, do you get that? Did you get that thing of like, I can't believe I'm doing this type of thing?
Yeah, for sure. In fact, I just had a moment recently where I was telling my husband that I've got momentum. I've got such momentum. And I was like, I missed one of the things that set me back. When I restarted my business in September, I ended up with a concussion in December. So right after restarting my business, I ended up with a concussion that set me back about 2 months. And so I was just telling my husband that I have the momentum again that I had before my concussion. And he was like, oh, that's great. And he's like, what's different about before the concussion and now? And then at first I got confused because I was like, well, I don't have a concussion anymore. And he was like, no, I mean like your momentum then to your momentum now. And I was like, well, I think my momentum now has been like it's been pulled out of me from other people. I'm so busy right now because of other people needing me, and that excites me, right? Like before I was busy building Fuse back up. Now I'm busy building other people up as well, and it is so exciting.
I love that. I love that you want to help people, and that's what we do. And I think people miss that. I think that's one of the missing ingredients that people that want to be entrepreneurs, they just see the money. Mm-hmm. They see a lifestyle. They see a guy standing next to a really nice car, by a really nice house, and that's what they think this is. And that's right. Kind of like wrong.
Especially your family. I think your family is more confused than anyone. I remember a time when my mom was like, she had asked me for money, and I was like, I don't have money right now. Like it was a large amount that she needed, and it was like something for her medical stuff. And I was like, Mom, I really want to help you. I don't actually have that kind of money though. Let's talk to the other siblings. And she was like, I don't understand how you don't have money. You own a business. And I was like, that's why I don't have money. Like I'm at the beginning, right? I'm at the beginning of the stages. In 5 or 10 years, maybe I'll have money. But right now I don't. Like I'm trying to build something. All the money this business is getting is coming out of my personal funds, or, the money that comes in goes right back into the business. And so it's really cool that now the businesses are so profitable that if somebody needs money now, we're able to help them. But back when we first started, like you said, people think you just have a nice car, a nice house, all kinds of money. And that's just not the case at the beginning. I mean, you have to work towards that and it eventually comes, but it doesn't happen overnight.
It doesn't. And you have people that ask you for money and you want to help them. You do, but it's like, you don't understand. I may be on a camera and I may be doing this and that and the other and out there, but that doesn't mean that I am rich by any stretch of the imagination. And people don't get that. They don't understand. you're, you're doing this and this and this, and you keep telling me you're doing this and everything's great and stuff. And sometimes I think we don't misrepresent ourselves. I don't think it's that. It's just, I think their perception of us is different.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So going into Fuse, how do you help people? What do you help people with? And who are the people that are coming to you for help?
Well, I like to put it in a short way of I help businesses, I help build businesses, and I help build people. So we do mostly professional development, but we also do have personal development in our program as well. But we focus on building businesses, and in the process of building businesses, it just comes naturally that we sometimes realize that a person needs to be built as well. It's kind of like my story. I had to build myself in a lot of areas before I could build my business.
Right. That makes sense. So say I'm a person, I've just started and I'm just, getting into this entrepreneurial gig, what advice would you have for that person? The person that's just starting. And I mean, they're starting. It's not like it's just an idea. They're actually out there trying to do something. So what would be your first steps that you would try to get them to understand?
Well, I would want them to understand that they don't have to do everything at once, and that there is a certain order that things should be done in. In fact, I'm working on developing right now a roadmap that walks people through all of the stages of business and the order that they should do things. And the reason I started doing that is because a lot of people would come to me and be like, I need a website made. And then I'm like, okay, well, what are your logo? Where's your logo? What are your colors? What fonts do you use? And they're like, what? Like they didn't even have that stuff yet. And I'm like, you can't build a website if you don't have a brand yet. You've got to know your brand first, right?
Well, actually, I think you can, because people were asking me for that.
Yeah, and so I'm just like, you've got to know the order, because here's the thing. Technically, yes, you can build a website without knowing your brand, but you're going to have to rebuild it after you figure out your brand. Right. And so what's the point of doing it twice, paying for it twice, spending the time to do it twice? And so just making sure that you have your ducks in a row first, right? Like another thing is you can't really get a website without knowing your business name either, because how do you know what domain to pick?
Exactly.
But also at the same time, you should be careful choosing a business name before making sure that domain name is available for a website. Yep. Right. So it's the worst thing to like pick a business name and then go to build a website and be like, oh, somebody has that already. and then what do you do? So there's an order of that you should be doing things in. And most people just want to jump right into making sales and just doing the work. But you really need to build your business on a strong foundation so that it can sustain when you do actually get busy.
If you could give us the tip of, okay, what are the first couple of steps? You don't have to give me the whole thing, because that might be something that you have in one of your programs, and I don't want you to have to put that out there. But what do you think like a first few steps should be specifically?
So one of the first steps that we have on the roadmap is your personal development. And that is it is a smaller course, but it is, it definitely touches on, you've got to make sure that you're right inside and outside in your personal life before you start trying to build your business life. Like you've got to make sure that you're organized and that you know how to communicate and simple things like that. And then we move into time management, because a lot of times people just want to do everything. And so I teach them early on that you've got to know how to, I call it master your time actually. But you've got to know how to master your time and don't let it master you. And so I teach you a lot of different strategies, because there is no one size fits all. Time works differently for everybody, even though we have the same amount. But so we walk into time management, and then after you learn how to manage your own time, then I could teach you how to manage your business. Right. And so then we walk into the early stages of business, like creating your vision and your mission statement and your core values, because everything you do after that needs to come back to those things.
That's great advice. Absolutely great advice. People miss that. People want to put their brand out there, what they think it is. They want to put their products out there. They want to create a course first. They want to get the money first. It's basically what they want to do. And then they forget all the other things that actually would have people gravitate towards them to purchase such a thing. And
of course.
that was really good. That was really, really good. What is the one thing over time that you've seen has been a problem for new entrepreneurs or clients of yours that want to be entrepreneurs? What do you see as that one flaw or one thing that you see that holds them back?
So a lot of times I've found that people don't know what they don't know. And they listen to anybody who's put on a stage in front of them without looking at their credentials and without having one specific coach or mentor that they can bounce things off of. And a lot of times these people that they're hearing things from are giving them great tips, but a lot of times it may not be what they need right now in their business, and they may not know how to do it. So one of the things I do in my Fuse business training company is that I teach you not only what to do, but exactly how to do it. We walk through step by step, and we also do coaching in that business. And I always tell people that you need to have a coach or a mentor of some sort. Every entrepreneur does, because you need somebody to be accountable to. Even if it's not me, you need to find somebody who you could be accountable to, and somebody who knows your business well enough that if you hear Jane Doe up on stage saying, go get a LinkedIn profile, you could come back and say, do I need a LinkedIn profile, and how do I do that? Right? So you have somebody who you could trust that helps keep you accountable, but also helps keep you focused on where you're going and doesn't let you see a squirrel and run somewhere that you shouldn't be.
Shiny object syndrome. I
Yes.
get it.
Exactly.
I really get it. One thing that we run across a lot, or I have in my journey, plus being a podcaster and doing this show, is that I've seen a lot of something called the imposter syndrome. Have you seen that a lot?
Yes. And so actually I even got it in myself too. And so where we feel like the imposter syndrome, for anybody who isn't aware of it, is where you feel like you're lying even though you know you're not, or maybe you're coming off in a way that you're not. And people have used the term fake it till you make it, and then people feel like an imposter because of that. And so here's what I learned in myself. I used to feel bad because I thought, why are people paying me all this money to, let's say, build a website? And I don't even have a degree in building a website. My degree is in business. It's not in marketing, right? And so I always feel like maybe they shouldn't pay me as much as they did. But what I learned was that even though I don't have a degree in it, I have experience, which sometimes is way better than book smart, right? And the credentials. And so my clients actually sometimes would feed into me with to give me the encouragement that I am worth what I'm charging. And the money thing has been one of the biggest things for me. Is I've had a hard time charging what I was worth because I didn't know my worth. And I felt like I was ripping people off by charging them this much for this service, even though I still was like the cheapest one around and people were charging way more than that. But I still thought, I can't believe people would pay this much for that. And I had to go through, of course, some personal development myself to realize that I am worthy. And what I am doing for people is helping them in ways that money really couldn't even justify. And so that's one thing that I would encourage, if you feel like if you have the imposter syndrome, to know that it's just a trick to make us feel like we are not what we are, but you are everything that you think you are and that God says that you are. And don't feel like you are not worthy of charging what you're worth. Most of you probably aren't charging what you're worth. You're charging way too little. And actually right now you should just raise your rates. Say Barbara said to.
That's the truth too. I've ran into that myself actually. So it's like I'm creating logos, but I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I'm like, and they're like, oh, I love this. This is amazing. And I'm like, okay, this is not very hard. And I think what it is just a sense of inadequacy is basically what the imposter syndrome is. It's kind of like, it's just me. I mean, I'm just me, and am I worth that? Because, I just think you can get somebody. In fact, I think I argued with one client. I said, I think you can get this done by somebody else that's much better than I am. So, just that's how you feel at first. And then you kind of think, well, maybe I have some skill in this area because everybody's telling me that. Then maybe you start
Yeah.
to believe it yourself. So, and I totally agree with you that I think that we totally undercharge. Absolutely
For sure.
undercharge. Oh, that
And
is one of the biggest things I've seen.
Yeah, definitely. And Jim, there was a time too that when I first started my speaking career, I didn't like understand why people would pay me to speak, because the way I saw myself, I remember telling my husband that, like, why would I don't have anything unique about me. I haven't had like my arm cut off and then won a swimming marathon or something. Like I've never been like I've never had anything out of the usual happen to me that makes me something special. And then he looked at me and was like, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, there's nothing special or unique about me, and I don't know why people think there is. Like, why do people think I'm so great?" And he was like, "Do you hear what you're saying?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I didn't understand where he was going. And he was like, "Babe," and he starts like telling me all these things that like I've been through. And I'm like, I know that, but I'm not the only person in the world who's ever been a single mom. And I'm not the only person in the world who's ever done this. I'm not the only person in the world. And he's like, yeah, but just because you're not the only person doesn't mean that it's not important. And all those things together have made you who you are. And I was like, oh, and like it just hit me that really all those little things that aren't really necessarily unique, I was able to persevere through a lot of those things when many people could have given up, right? And it would have been the easy thing to do. And it's just, it sometimes takes somebody else to tell you how great you are, but you have to be willing to hear it.
That's true. That's totally true. And we don't even see our own successes sometimes, because you're very successful. I mean, you've taken people from, zero to a lot of money in their businesses. And it's like, that's something, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, but we forget, I mean, and we also don't see ourselves as skilled, but then you run into people that they wouldn't know the first thing about a WordPress site. Not the first,
right, exactly.
even how to get in and do anything. And they're like, you're like a magician to them.
Right.
Know what I mean?
That's true. That's a good point.
It's like the cavemen when somebody comes here with a cigarette lighter and fire, and they're like, yeah, but it's just a lighter, to us, that's the easiest thing in the world. But to them, it's magic.
Jim, a funny story about that is I had recently a project manager contacted me, and he was working with this multi-millionaire that needed some services. And the project manager was reaching out to me for marketing services. And he was building a team of like 9 people that could help this guy in different areas. And so there was like a doctor in there, there was an attorney in there was a scientist. There were so many people on this team this project manager had come together with, and I was the marketer. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm the only one who doesn't have like something before my name, right? Like a doctor or something like that. And I was like, and I started feeling very like, I don't know why he reached out to me. I don't know why I'm even on this team. I definitely not at their level. And so, and I remember even when I sent him my prices that I already didn't think was good enough or high enough, this project manager reached back out to me and said, no, like, you don't understand. This person is used to paying way more than this for marketing. If you show him these prices, he's going to think you're not good enough. But you need to raise your rates, even if it's just for this client. And I was like, what? And so, so I did it as I was instructed and sent my bio over. And this project manager put together like a 30-something page proposal for this client of his, and we didn't get to know the client until the deal was done or whatever, but and so he put together this 30-something page proposal, sends it over. Our bios are all included, and then the project manager reaches out to me and says, Barbara, I need you to get on a phone call with this guy, and like he like, I can't remember how he referred to him, but like, again, he couldn't give me the guy's name yet because it was all confidential stuff. And I was like, wait, is that the multimillionaire? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, no, I don't think I could talk to a multimillionaire. And I was so nervous. And I was like, why does he want to talk to me? Did I do something wrong? And he was like, no, he's really impressed with your bio. He read through our bios and he was like, who is this Barbara? I want to have a phone conversation with her. And I was like, what about the doctor and stuff? Like, why doesn't he talk to him? I was so nervous. And I had the conversation with him. The guy loved me, and I didn't understand. And then I remember getting off the phone with him, and I talked to my husband, and I was like, it couldn't, like, he couldn't have like wanted to talk to me because my picture wasn't on my bio. And sometimes I like, how sometimes men can be like, oh, she's pretty, let me talk to her. And I was like, there wasn't a picture included. So I don't know why he wanted to talk to me. And so my husband's like, babe, you're greater than you think you are. And he's like, all that stuff in your bio is true. And I was like, I better go look back through it and make sure it's all the way true. So I looked through it and I was like, yeah, this all is true. I guess I am kind of awesome.
Kind of. Come on now.
I couldn't believe it though, but it was a really cool experience.
That is a super cool story. That was amazing, because it kind of shows, I was thinking while you were saying that I don't have nothing before my name. I said, just invent something. I don't, just put something in there, some acronym. Nobody knows what it is. It'll be fun. But yeah, I thought it was really cool. I mean, and I understand that, because it's like, there's just so many people out there that we serve that don't know, what we know. And we are experts at what we do. And the thing is even though we don't see that, because it's easy for us. Mm-hmm. And every time something's easy for us, we don't think we should be able to get paid for it as much, because it's like stealing or something. I think that's what people feel like. I did a logo and it was easy for me. It was like, I did 4 of them in a couple hours just to, dabble in it, and got paid for it. And I'm like, what? Yeah. It was crazy. I mean, it is, because, it's just not something that we're used to in the corporate world or in, 9-to-5 jobs or things like that. So it's different. It's different for us. So we have to judge our own worth in a different way. And I think almost it's better to have somebody else, like you said, a mentor, because they can tell us what we're worth more than we can sometimes. Yeah, for sure. I agree. I think that's a part of the entrepreneurial journey, is to have somebody to light the way. I really do. That's very helpful. In fact, I heard a quote before, and I can't remember who said it for the life of me, but it was something along the lines of, if you want to be somewhere you've never been, you need to learn from somebody who's been there before you. Yeah, I don't know who said it either, but that's pretty smart. Yeah. And it is true. I mean, in fact, like, there's so many people out there that are learning from people who have the knowledge, but have never actually done it. So one of the things that I vowed to myself early on in my business was that I was never going to teach or sell anything that I haven't done myself, right? Like, I'm not going to go tell you that you need a Facebook page if I don't have one myself. It seems unethical to me. And it also seems like, yeah, I could tell you that, but if I've not done one myself, how do I actually know if it's worthy, right? And so that's one of the things that one of my core values is that I won't teach or sell anything that I've not done myself, and that I know that it works. I love that. But I'm going to ask you this, okay? So if you're the person, there's a lot of times in football, they were a terrible player, but they make a great coach. Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard of that? Yes. So it's like, some people haven't done it, but their brain is amazing. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? Do you think that there are people out there that make a better coach than actually doing whatever the actual thing is? Yeah, so I think that there is a time and a place for that. But I take it back to, like, when I was in college. Many of my business teachers have never owned a business in their life. So when I actually was trying to start a business, I couldn't really go to them, because all they could give me was book knowledge, which to a level is really helpful, right? Mm-hmm. But at some point, you've got to get out of the book knowledge and you've got to get to experience. Totally agree with that. Yep. So while I think there is definitely a time and a place for it, I think you just need to know where that line is, that you need to jump into somebody who actually has experience rather than just the book knowledge. Okay. It was cool. I wanted your thoughts on that because I know a lot of people that go back and forth on that kind of a thing. And I'm with you though. I really do believe that you need someone that has had the experience. In Michigan, we get a lot of snow. That's where I'm at. And so a lot of times the dad would go out and get the car started first. And so little kids, they would walk in his footprints through the deep snow. So they didn't have to get their boots all full of snow. It's the
Right.
same thing in business. I mean, you have to walk in the footsteps of others that have been there so that you don't
Yeah.
get all the mess in your boots.
Right. And nothing beats experience, like even the credentials. Like I said, when I tell people I've got a degree in computerized business, but most of what I've learned, I've taught myself. Right. Like, or I've learned off Google or YouTube or something, just from the determination of wanting to learn and from actually doing it, from having experience. All that book knowledge just gave me the head start, right? It gave me a start to get somewhere. And then I had to actually go out and apply it. Because that's like having a goal or an intention, but never actually putting in any action to apply it. That will Even your best intentions and your best goals can never be great if they never come to fruition. Like, you have to
Absolutely.
actually apply it, and nothing beats experience when it comes to application.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Okay. So you have a really good business going on. You have a ton of people that are asking you, do you have any room for more people?
I do actually. I am working on, well, we're building our team. We have a small team already, and we're not currently doing a waiting list. We actually have open spots right now. There have been many times over the years where I had to do a waiting list because we just didn't have the capacity. But at this moment we do, and that's been in part because I've been building a nice team. So it's not just me anymore, which gives us obviously more time to do things. And in fact, right now during the coronavirus, I don't know if this will go out during coronavirus or not, because I know we're not live, but okay, perfect. And so right now during coronavirus, we've discounted almost every service that we offer pretty heftily. Like for instance, you can get a complete one-page website done for $325, which we've never even charged that for. Yeah, it's like super inexpensive. But the reason why is because we want you to at least have something on the internet right now, because that's where everybody's at. People aren't driving around as much right now. A lot of businesses are working virtually. So you need to have an online presence. If you don't have one, let us build you a one-page simple site. We do it in about a week, and it only costs you $325. And we are also doing a branding bundle that we've discounted as well to help you right now is a great time to get your stuff in order, especially if business has slowed down for you. Build your own business right now. Get your brand in order. We do social media marketing. We do blogging and email marketing. The marketing and media company is our primary company right now. That's where we focus the most in. But we also do coaching, you guys. If you need a coach, reach out to us, because that's even discounted right now. In fact, I have created a Spectrum of Solutions page that lists the main services that we're offering during coronavirus right now. And Jim, I'd be happy to share that with you, and you could possibly put a link on the video to that if anyone's interested.
Of course.
Perfect.
This is going out on it's going out on YouTube. It's going out on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, all of the major things. So we're going to get that out there. So guys, in the description, you'll be able to see those links to those discounted coronavirus discounts, packages,
services. There you go.
Services. There we go. And then it'll be in the show notes on the Spotify and iHeartRadio and iTunes those platforms. So I just wanted to make you aware of that, so that you can take advantage of these things while we go through this crisis together. I appreciate you doing that too, because it shows that you actually want to give to people as well. It is the best time right now to have your website, to experience online entrepreneurship, because we all have to stay home anyway, pretty much. So it is the best time to delve into something that could replace your job. If you've lost your job, something to start, but it's the hope of being able to, while you're at home anyway, creating a business that can keep you there. And so I think that this is the perfect opportunity to talk to Barbara about these services that you can get your ducks in a row by somebody who's done it professionally. It's a big difference between somebody who's done it professionally and somebody that's just doing it because they're just doing it.
Right.
So you're offering coaching and stuff like that. Do you have pricing on the rest of the stuff? Because I know you mentioned the one thing was for $329, I think you said. Correct?
Yes, so the prices are all on the spectrum of solutions. I don't recall
Awesome.
all of them off the top of my head, but the prices are listed on there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. Yep. All right, that sounds great. So we're going to get you guys to go to that page. And I usually say at the end of the shows that I say to click the like button and do all those things that YouTube tells me to do. But this time I'm going to tell you to go to but down below, click the link. Or if you have to highlight it and copy and paste, I know that's a lot of work and all, but yeah, I think it's worth it. So please do that and go to Barbara and get those services now so you can start a journey that who knows where that leads. You'd be amazed sometimes when you put yourself out there what happens. And Barbara, do you want to talk to the audience real quick about your stuff and not only where they can find you, but what more things that you offer, anything you want to tell people, basically what I'm giving you the opportunity to do.
Okay. Yeah. So like I said earlier, we are in the business of building businesses and building people. So if you are looking for professional development or personal development, we do both aspects where we teach you how to do what you need to do. We also can do it for you. So any of our businesses, we offer both options where we can either teach you how to do it or we could just do it for you. For instance, if you want a Facebook page, we could teach you how to do a Facebook page or we could just do it for you. So you have both options there, and right now is the best time to be marketing your business, like Jim was just saying a moment ago. So don't stop marketing, even if your business has had to pause during COVID-19. Do not stop marketing it. And whether you market it with me or if you market it with someone else or if you market it on your own, you need to keep visible. And I am offering one of the things I've been doing for free during this time is a Facebook group where I do training every day. I give you a new virtual marketing idea for free and I show you how to do it for 30 days. And we're on day 19, I think, today. And again, I don't know exactly when this is going out, but even afterwards, you can find all of those videos, the replay videos on our YouTube channel, which is Fuse Empire, Fuse Your Biz. So if you search for that, you'll be able to find us and view the 30 virtual marketing ideas playlist. But if you find this before that 30 days is over, you could search on Facebook for 30 virtual marketing ideas, and then we should come up. It's a group, so look for the group. There's also an event on it. You probably would prefer to just go to the group because the event was just to sign people up on the Eventbrite before the event started. But now that it started, just look for the group. And then I always give out my contact information publicly, so I'll throw that in here too. My personal cell phone number, if you want to reach out to me, call or text, it is 219-707-1882. And then the best email to reach me at is barbara@fuseempire.com. And my email or my name is spelled BARBARA, and then Fuse is FUSE. Empire is EMPIRE. So Barbara@fuseempire.com.
Awesome. It's been a really good conversation about some things that, we can start now as we sit in our houses and self-isolate and all these new terms that I don't remember half of them, social distancing and all this. I think they're going to have the social distancing Olympics if I read that. No, I'm kidding. But I don't know. We got to keep positive, keep in a good mood. Seems like this is a good way to go. Don't be bored. Start a business, or if you have one right now and you're doing something on the side and you want to make that more of a permanent thing or more of your full-time thing, get with Barbara and get some help because we all need that. And I appreciate everybody who's listened to this show, and I appreciate Barbara for coming on. Thank you very much, and you all have a wonderful day.